have a lot of sunblock, but this is the thing I hate about sunblock is I feel like it makes you look like a clown. Like, it looks clown-like. And people are like, well, there's other kinds of sunblock. You could buy this one and that. But you know what? I don't like to spend tons of money on toiletries. I just don't. I'm very simple, kind of that way. So I'm using up what I have in the house. Like, I have several different kinds of sunblock. Like, this one's from 2023, but I don't care. I'm still going to use it. I'm not going to buy new sunblock. You could just, I don't know, because I'm going to go for a walkie walk. And in the past, I've been really bad about applying sunblock, and I don't even wear it most of the year. No, I'm not supposed to say that. But since it's been like 100 degrees out, I guess I should wear it. I don't know. But I don't burn or anything. Not really, but I don't know. And another reason I stopped wearing sunblock was because there was that 2010 study that said sunblock could actually maybe cause skin cancer, but then some people have debunked those studies, and I realized maybe I should wear sunblock, but so I'm wearing it, and I do have it, but I'm not the best at putting it on or applying it. I don't always remember to apply sunblock, but that's not popular to say in our society. Well, some hippy dippy people, they don't wear sunblock at all, I guess. I'm not like that. I just, honestly, it's like an extra step. And another thing I don't like about sunblock is I don't sweat in the heat at all. Like, I just don't sweat. Like, I can go out in 100-degree heat. Like, we were at Knott's Berry Farm on Monday. Here's an example. And my sister and boyfriend were like sweating, and they were just so overheated, and they needed to keep getting ice cups. And me, I don't know. I just don't sweat like that because I walk a lot in the heat. And I feel like I'm heat acclimated, and I used to think, well, maybe I just take more after my dad's side of the family, but then I talk to people that are like Syrian Lebanese, and they hate the heat too, and they love air conditioning all day. And I think it's just me. I think for some reason years ago when we used to go hiking in the desert and camping in Death Valley, which, by the way, don't ever go camping in Death Valley. Like, whose idea is that? Not mine. No, I'm never going camping again. No, I'm just not. It's not that exciting. Anyway, I think I just became heat acclimated because of all those experiences, right? I actually like that idea of cocoa butter. I should buy that again. I really should. It's probably better. So anyway, like the heat doesn't bother me that much, but everybody's like dying apparently in the heat. But I'm still not running my air conditioner because I'm in a standoff with Southern California Edison about my electricity bill, which is still saying it's $111 this month, and I do not agree with that. I need to make them come out and read the meter, but they refuse to do it. They're like, no, it's correct to the penny. And I'm like, I'm not even running my air conditioner. I know if I turned it on for a second, it would shoot up to like $300, and I refuse. See, that's the thing too. I feel like if you spend time in the heat, like, because I lived on the backside of the mountain into the desert, and then I lived in the desert, like I lived in the desert, the actual, it's similar, I don't think it's quite as hot as Dubai, but I lived in Blythe, California, and the average daily temperature in Blythe was 120 degrees between May and May and October. I lived there. I lived in Barstow. We went out to the desert a lot. I used to go running a lot, and I think I just got used to it. Plus, I walk like all the time, and I walk when it's like 100 plus degrees, and I'm just so used to it. And some people just don't sweat as much, and it's normal, like, not to sweat as much. That's a thing. And I kind of get an ooh thing. Like, sometimes people hand me things and it's all wet, and I'm like, why is this wet? Did you spill a drink on it? And they just openly say, oh, my hands are really sweaty. And I'd be kind of embarrassed, like, to hand something to somebody if my hands were dripping wet. Like, why don't you wipe it off? I don't know. I don't get it. But people just hate the heat, and I can get used to it. So yeah, I think sometimes there's just a lot of things in life that I turned myself into a Lego character because I can't talk about like things I saw yesterday that made me think like, did that really happen? Like I saw something happen that I just was like, did this really happen? It did. But I'm like, oh, only to me, but other people saw it too, but I got to see the nitty gritty of it. Well, somebody else saw it too, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Just people doing things, and I'm like, really? Well, I guess they were having fun when they were doing all that stuff, and I'm like, oh my word, I can never talk about it. Maybe someday somebody said, you could write a book, and I don't know. Would I want to write a book about all those things? Probably not, just because I don't want to out people, and I don't want people to feel bad, and just, what if they read about a scenario and they were the one that did that, and then they're like, oh, Meg wrote Julia's book. She wrote a book, tell-all book about things she's seen in the last 20 years, like all these zany things, but I just attributed it to, well, you know what? It's something that happens to me. I always see something zany, so stress relief is like turning myself into a Lego character, and maybe I'll become a Lego character. I'm not, but I don't know. That's kind of how I feel right now. Like, I think Dubai is much hotter. That's what I was saying. I don't even think it's as hot in California. Dubai, I think, one of the hottest regions in the world, right? But anyhow, I'm just like, I always see things. I'm like, did that really happen? Just when you're out in public. If you notice things, if you see things, like other people just don't see that. They're like, I didn't see that happen. I said, I saw it happen. All you have to do is laugh and be like, okay, we're never just going to have a mundane day. There's always going to be something odd that happens. And it's like being in a movie. I don't even have to. Sometimes I feel like my life is a movie, and I feel like I'm a character in a movie. I don't know. That's just how I live, I guess. You should write a novel. I like your storytelling when you do a lot of your TikToks. I feel like you could be a novelist. I think you have a keen eye for detail, so I like that. I wrote a novel once, but I'm not invested in it because that was a long, long time ago. What people thought I should write is just like about actual events and things I see, or things like from when I was a kid. My mom used to tell me, because I don't know what it is. I always saw the things that the zany neighbors did, but my mom, she's very, like, I'm introverted, but my mom's extremely introverted, so she would just go garden or go into the house, and the neighbors would tell me things that they just couldn't say to her. Oh, well, I could give one example. Here is an example, because I don't feel bad about this one at all. So I had an aunt. She's kind of, like, look, I believe in taking care of family. My mom actually did a lot for my aunt, okay? So we believe in all that. But this aunt was a total, like, she just likes to freeload on people, okay? So, like, she lied to our other, like, siblings, my mom's other siblings, saying that my mom had, like, a 17-bedroom house and that she was really rich and she was going to pay for my aunt and my niece, not my niece, my cousin, her niece, to go to Disneyland. We were going to go to Disneyland later that summer, and I think I made a boo-boo. I mentioned it. My mom said she couldn't afford for, like she couldn't afford to take, like, all those people to Disneyland. She just couldn't, but she could pay for their hotel room when they came out and visited us. And she did that because they didn't even, like, they were coming to California to visit us, okay? Supposedly visit. But they didn't even have money, like, that they brought with them. So come to find out later, they were not coming to visit. I think my uncle was, because he had a job. He was going to go back, okay, to Kansas. But this is like a Dorothy and Toto story or something. But my aunt and my cousin, who actually, I did still talk to this cousin, but some other cousins, they wouldn't even talk to her because of how, I guess, freeloading this aunt was. So anyway, this aunt told them she was going to move to California to live with us. And my mom, and when she got to California, my mom picked her up at the bus stop. She goes, oh, I'm going to move in with you guys. And my mom was like, no, you're here to visit. So my mom paid for them for a hotel room for like 2 days. Okay, like paid for them, and you know, my mom was babysitting at the time. Like she wasn't even working again yet. She was still a stay-at-home mom, so she didn't have a lot of money to do this. And this was just like extra money she had saved up. But my cousin and my aunt thought that they were moving in with us. So anyway, we had a friend whose wife, I don't know, this lady would come and tell me things, but not tell my introverted mom things, because I was a little bit more outspoken and I would say things, or like, I was 10 years old, by the way. They would tell me things and not tell my mom, because my mom is very introverted. She just goes off and does her own thing. So anyway, it's just common sense. My aunt's going back to Kansas with my cousin. They're not moving in with us. My mom can't afford. Well, there was also another time that my aunt tried to get my mom to adopt my cousin. But my mom said, you know, I have a small family. I can only afford this. I can't afford to adopt your cousin. Plus, my aunt should be taking care of her daughter. And my cousin had a dad, too, that actually wanted custody of her. But I think it was so weird. It was a very weird situation where they had divorced and the aunt didn't want the dad to have custody, but wanted my mom to raise the cousin in California, because, I don't know, she was a little wild. She was kind of a wild girl, okay? I was 10 at the time. She was 13, but she was very, very wild, very, very boy crazy. And my mom was like, you know what? I'm not doing that to myself. And we're very family oriented. We had already paid for them to come out and visit us in California. My mom didn't have a lot of money then. She paid for their hotel room, okay? But my dad had this friend, and he's a nice guy, but his ex-wife was kind of a busybody and liked to let people freeload off my dad's friend. There's a lot of weird scenarios. Anyway, so I guess they came over, and I was at school when this happened, but I found out a few days later because my dad's friend's ex-wife and his naughty daughter came up and told me, oh, you sent your aunt and your cousin back to Kansas and you didn't let them live with us. And I said, what are you talking about? They go, yeah, they wanted to move in with you and you said no. And then your mom said no to them moving in with us. And I was like, what are you talking about? I said, plus, I love my mom. My mom's the best. I'm always going to stick up for my mom. I said, don't talk about my mom that way. So I went inside and I told my mom, I said, you know, I am not a fan of this lady. I know my dad's very friendly. He likes to be friends with a lot of people, but I am not a fan of this lady. And what is she talking about? So I found out the 411. This is zany 411. But my aunt, who's kind of a freeloading lady, and I'm not close to this aunt, by the way, so I don't even care. Like, if she found out, what is she going to find out? That she was kind of a user? And she has alienated, like, we still talk to her, by the way. She alienated other aunts and cousins. Like, she did other things I won't even talk about because that's not my story. This is just the freeloading story. So anyway, my dad's friend and his wife came over to visit. I don't know why. I don't know. Everybody was just socializing one day. I was at school. My dad was at work. I don't know. Like, they all came over and they met my aunt. And she was crying. Like, she was literally crying. She's a grown woman. She was 45 years old. Okay? Grown woman. And she's crying to this is a complicated story anyway. So she's crying to the wife of my dad's friend saying, oh, I'm so poor, I can't afford to raise my daughter. What am I gonna do? I need somewhere to live. And this lady's like, oh, you mean your sister won't let you move in with her? My mom was her younger sister, okay? My mom had 3 kids of her own. She has 1 child. Well, I think she had an older son, but he was off on his own doing his own thing. And keep in mind, I think her ex-husband wanted to raise them, but she didn't want them to raise them. So the whole thing was weird. It was so weird. So she's like crying to the ex-wife of my dad's friend, and they got divorced eventually because this lady was woo-woo. She goes, I wanted to live with her, and she won't let him live with me. And she goes, that's so to move in with us. She goes, really? Oh, yes. And this lady was a little Lulu, too. And we saw this lady's house on the 4th of July one year, and it was really gross, by the way. This is why I don't like, and I don't, in this situation, I don't really care. Usually I don't want to out people, but this was disgusting. So we saw the house. This was a few months later after the incident where they told me, oh, my mom should have let the aunt move in with us instead of telling my mom, because my mom's introverted. She just does her own thing. But because I talk, they tell me things, and like I'm the little messenger. I'm like, and this is so juvenile, by the way, that adults did this with a child. But back in the days, people were just like that. And I'm like, I feel like my aunt and that lady should have been ashamed of themselves. Really. I do. Because I would never talk to a 10-year-old child like this. Saying, you should have let your aunt live with you, or let her live with us. And she was out here visiting. That was what the original discussion was. But when she got to California, she told my mom she was going to move in, and my mom said that's not possible. So then when she met this lady who kind of was a freeloader too, off my dad's friend, because I guess she had like 12 people living in their house, which by the way was disgusting. It had cat poop everywhere. It was disgusting. This lady was not a housekeeper, and how gross. Anyway, they were like chastising me, and I said, this is weird. My mom's a good person. My mom, and you know, I always stand up for my mom. I said, my mom paid for my aunt and my cousin to come out here. Paid for their hotel room. And not only that, like my mom had a little party and brought them up to the mountains one day, and she bought all this food, and my mom doesn't even eat meat, okay? But she bought like chicken sticks, and I think she even bought them hamburgers, like stuff that we don't eat, and she bought them lemonade. And my cousin was just so like spoiled and not grateful that a fly got in her lemonade, because that's disgusting, and she like dumped it out, and she just, they didn't appreciate anything. They didn't say thank you. My cousin was just really wild. She was like watching boys walking by, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to be here like having a family? The whole thing was weird. So anyway, I always thought that was interesting, just all these zany people. And my mom was like, yeah, whatever. She goes, you know, I'm not going to let them like live with us because I can't afford to do that. Plus, she didn't want to deal with my aunt not taking care of her daughter. Like, that's my aunt's problem. And honestly, this aunt did other things that I won't even talk about. Like, she did to my other cousins, like, she did some really bad things, like where she scared them. Like, she just wasn't nice to them. So a lot of people didn't even talk to her. I think now my cousin doesn't even talk to her. But that whole thing was so zany. I felt like, is this like some weird plot out of a movie? It was just weird. And I'm like, whatever. But she was kind of upset because she had to go back to Kansas and she couldn't move out here. And I'm like, well, she could have got a job and moved out here. I think my mom even told her there were different places that were hiring if you wanted to move out here. And I don't know, that was on her, right? So, but it was pretty zany, I just have to say. Yeah, I don't know why people use their children like that. It bothers me, though. There's something wrong about that. Like, if you have something to say to another adult, be adult enough to say it to them. But I think what it is, even though my mom's introverted, these people are all cowards. Like, these people, they were cowards. Like, they knew they were wrong and they were cowardly. So instead of, like, saying things to somebody's face, they just would say it behind their back or tell a child. And then the icing on the cake, like we went to visit my mom's dad, who I love so much, my grandpa Fulkerson. I love the man. He's great. He was an amazing man. He passed away in 1997. He was 83. But he was such a good man. He was a very humble person. He was a lot like my dad. Not my dad. He was a lot like my mom and my Uncle John. He was just a very nice, very sweet person. Like, he never had anything bad to say about anyone. Like, just very, he had a sense of humor, but he was very introverted. He used to love my drawings, by the way. He would always tell me that I was drawing the Lucy character from Peanuts. He was funny. I love my grandpa. He was a nice guy. So we went to go visit him. And, you know, of course, my cousins and aunts came over. And my aunt, this has been like 6 years since that incident where she wanted to move in with my mom, and then she chastised me for not letting my mom like let her move in or move in with a friend, which was kind of weird. Like, you just meet somebody right away and you invite them to move in. She didn't even ask her husband what he thought. Oh, she used to have 12 people living there and didn't ask him what he thought. Oh, but she also cheated on him too. She didn't ask him what he thought. I don't know. The whole thing was weird. That lady was Lulu. She was like Lulu on another level. But it'd been years. And my aunt would always play this game. She wasn't really sad. She wasn't really sensitive, but she'd be playing this like little victim game where when she came over, she like started crying. And I thought something really bad must have happened to her. And she was just sitting there crying and tears were rolling down her eyes. And then my cousin was like so annoyed and she just went outside. And I said, what is that about? She goes, oh, she's still upset that your mom wouldn't let her move with you to California and move in. And I'm like, what? This was like 6 years ago. And you guys were just on a vacation. She was like, yeah, I know. And then she was telling my mom, oh, my daughter would have turned out so much better. Which, you're like dissing your own daughter. This is your daughter and she's outside and she can hear you. My daughter would have had problems if you had adopted her. And what? I don't know. This makes me feel better just getting that out because that was pretty Lulu. But that was just one. That's just one story I have about Lulu people. There were other people that, I don't know, my dad just wants to be friendly with everybody and he wants to invite everybody to come over and be friendly and be a social guy and like just be a very friendly person and come to dinner or go hiking with us. And I didn't like a lot of these people generally. A lot of them, I just wasn't fans because they're I don't know. There were just things about them I didn't like, and we would always tell our dad, we never want these people to come over because generally we think they're users. Like, they would come over and eat food that my mom made. They just want to come over and eat. Like, it's a free meal. They're not really your friends. But sometimes people just want to be social and friendly. They don't see these things. So, I don't know, years later, my dad's like, oh, like a lot of these people stopped coming over. And my mom's like, yeah. They just came over because they wanted to eat free food and socialize, which is fine if you know that. But this is why I'm not super social and I'm not a big fan of people, because at a young age, it's like I'm not a fan of people acting like that and being rude to me. And I don't allow it. Like, even when I was young, like, I think actually I probably stood up for myself more when I was younger than now, because I'm like, no, you don't get to say things like that to me or about my mom. And they would always kind of do it in a quiet, cowardly way. Like when my dad was off doing something with the other friend, it'd be like the wife of the husband. And they would always corner me. And I'm like, you guys are weird. And I think another time that happened too with another lady that was like the friend, like the husband's friend, said something to my other sister. But this time my mom's like, I've had enough. And my mom doesn't even go outside and talk to people when they came over to socialize. But this time it wasn't enough because this lady said she was going to do something and it was just so rude. I don't know. This is why I'm not a big people person. Like, I like people, I'll be nice to people, but I don't really want to socialize with lots of people because I don't know. I just don't really trust people in general. Like, I don't know what their intentions are. And just, even to this day, things I see people do and just comments people make, and you have to be really civil and very kind for me to want to spend a large amount of time with you. I'm weird like that. I'm not super social, and people are like, oh, you have to just laugh things off. Like, when somebody says something, you have to just laugh it off. But I've never done that. Like, 5-year-old me is still in my core where I'm like, I don't like that. You don't get to just say whatever you want to me. And I don't know. When somebody crosses my line, I might not. When I was a kid, I would tell them a little bit more. Nowadays, I just stop talking to them. I'm not gonna, like, even today, like, if somebody does something and I'm like, they've crossed my line, I'm not gonna laugh it off and be like, ha ha, that's funny. Why do I need to do that? I think it's just because I feel more authentic. Like, I like being authentic. But anyway, lots of funny stories and scenarios, and that was another reason we were just never big on socializing, and we never went to like in general, like a lot of the block parties, we would go to a few of those things because my dad liked to go to them, but I always thought they were super boring, and and this is another reason I have a lot of antipathy towards people who drink, because I would just see how adults acted in social situations when they were drinking, and they would make excuses for themselves, like, oh, like, we're just socially drinking. Like, I remember, like, there was this birthday party, they called it the Gemini party, because all these people were born under the Gemini, and I remember this man, he was so drunk, okay? It was ridiculous. Like, he was trying to play croquet with the kids at this party, and he was acting real zany, and I just was like, what is going on? Like, why is this man acting like this? And a lot of adults, like, nobody called him out. I feel like nowadays that would not fly, but I don't know, the 80s were kind of a wild time. People just even now, people turn a blind eye to things, but I don't know. You can be crazy out in the public world, but you cross my line, and then I'm going to say something to you, or I'm just not going to talk to you. One or the other. I just don't have any tolerance. Like, I'm kind to people, but I'm not super tolerant to bad, silly behavior. I don't have to be. Like, I'm not put on this earth to make these people happy. I get you. Like, if you don't like something, I get, like, if you don't like a certain situation, I get being silent. Like, that's happened to me before. Well, actually, even recently. I don't know, somebody said something to me and I didn't think it was respectful, and I said something, okay? And I wasn't even confrontational. I said I didn't think that was very nice. And then, I don't know, somebody's like, oh, are you gonna come eat with us now? Like, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna sit in the car. I'm going to sit in the car, because after that, they didn't make any attempt to, like, apologize or say, hey, and it was just me making a silly comment about how I thought a drive-thru was closed. And I don't know, but then it became a thing that, oh, I'm super sensitive, and then it became this other thing like, oh, don't be like Dad, who holds on to things, and it's the principle of the thing for days on end. Well, I don't know, maybe I'm like my dad that way, but whatever. When you cross my line, I don't need to engage with you or, like, laugh it off, and that's why I feel like after high school, I didn't have to tolerate any of that anymore. Because I feel like in high school, you're kind of forced to tolerate those things. But once I went to college, I didn't have to socialize with people unless I wanted to. And as an adult, I don't have to socialize with people unless I want to. And I just want to have a few friends. I don't want to be a big socializer. I don't want to go to big events. I have no desire to be around people who drink. I don't. I think alcohol is really bad. I don't understand, like, the premise or the purpose of it in life. But those aren't popular things to say. Some people are like, this is prohibition talk. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to prohibit alcohol, I guess. Well, honestly, if I had a store, I wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't sell it. I'm not going to sell stuff like that because I think it's bad for you. And I think people make a lot of bad choices in our culture. And there's a lot of jokes about how you should drink to loosen up. And people are made to feel bad. Like, oh, you're too serious. You should have a drink. And it's like a lot of bad behavior. And then there's also like a lot of people taking medications, even prescription ones. Like they're kind of abusing them. Or using other substances like to, I don't know, deal with life, but I don't deal with life that way. Oh, what? I might eat some sugar and I make a funny video. I'm not gonna ever do things that I think are bad for me. I'm just not. But, I just stay away from all those things because I feel like it's better for me to stay away from situations that are just not good for you. And I've never met somebody drinking that I thought was a fun person. Because my idea of fun does not include liquor. And this is some hard truth. I think Americans have a drinking problem. I do. I don't think you should take your kids to, okay, maybe I'm being a curmudgeon, but I was was really floored to find out that people take their children to a brewery and one of the parents orders a beer. I don't think that's, like, why? Why would your kids want to go to a brewery with you? And I'm kind of confused, like, why people are taking their kids to a place like that. And people are like, oh, but you're just not being fun, Julia. You're not having a fun attitude. And I guess, like, if you grow up in Germany or something, well, the U.S. too, there's a lot of people with German descent in the U.S., like, beer. It's so exciting. Beer's not. Why? I was like frozen for a second for some reason. Maybe YouTube doesn't like us criticizing drinking. Well, no, I get it. I don't think drinking is as bad in the US as the UK, but this is the reason. Because you have a lot of actually religious people that are either Christian in some communities or Muslim or, I don't know, Jewish or other, where some communities don't want that behavior in residential areas. But I'll tell you where it is bad. Is like in downtown areas, like at night where there's a lot of bars. That's where it can be bad, but it's more concentrated. Like in the US, things are kind of separated because it's a big country. Like you have areas that are dedicated to like downtown activities at night, which will have a lot of breweries or bars and things. Or you have residential areas where people just don't really do that kind of stuff. Plus, yeah, somebody would call the police if people are making noise after a certain time at night or if they don't have a noise permit. So some of that behavior is just not going to happen in the US just because of regulations. Like you can't even be drunk in public in the US. It's illegal. It is. If somebody sees you with like a can of beer, like starting to walk up to a street, they're going to question you. Like, you can't do that. Now, if you're in a downtown area inside a bar, that kind of behavior will happen in the bar. But if you exit the bar onto the public street, it becomes a public intoxication, which is not legal in California. Public intoxication is not, but I will tell you, people still do it. I think it's just maybe because in the UK, I don't know, maybe do you guys have like the same public intoxication laws on the streets? I don't know. Maybe it's, I feel like it's more like we're more spread out, so those things do happen, but you can't really do it out on the street without getting in trouble. So I think people kind of know better, and the people who do it, there's a consequence, so maybe they won't do it again. I think that might be the difference, but it still happens. It just happens in the bars, but I don't go in bars, so who knows. Anyway, I'm saying you're not missing out on anything this summer, not going to events like that. I am going to have a nice quiet summer. I had fun going to Knott's Berry Farm, but I'm over it. Disneyland is better, and yeah, there's some fun things at Knott's, but it's just not, I feel like you're missing the magic of Disneyland, because when you're at Knott's, you keep wanting like the Disney characters and the Disney experience, and Knott's just feels like it's trying to be like Disney, like even their log ride, like I don't know, it was fun enough, but I guess I thought it was more fun than I remembered, because I've been on it back in 2019, and I forgot, oh, like they have animatronics, but they just aren't the same, and they're like redoing the Disney log ride, which will be so much better now that they're redoing it, because the story it was before, I'm like, I don't even know why it was that story when it opened in 1989. It was a very racist story, and I have a question as in why in 1989, when I think our country should have known better after the civil rights movement, that was, I don't even want to talk about how bad that story is. Even though it seems fun, the U.S. log ride, before they redid it, I just don't understand why it was that particular story, because I watched the cartoon when I was a kid and I was very traumatized. And it was and I said, my mom, we're like, yeah, this is pretty racist, so I never watched it again. It was bad. It's pretty bad. I don't even want to go into how bad it is. I just don't understand like why in 1989, and I don't want to ban all Disney things. Like there's some things at Disneyland that I think are dumb that they ban. Like, oh wow, the pirates chasing the women, like that. That was fine. Like I don't know, that was funny, but this was just racist. Like and something really bad happens to a black child in that story, so that's why I don't like it. And I never did like the story behind the log ride. I like the log ride, like the whole premise of the log ride, but I feel like why did that have to be the story that went with it? So it's good that they're redoing it. In that case, I do think so. Like I don't agree with all the other bands, but the log ride thing I kind of do because it was kind of problematic. But some of the other stuff, I'm like, I don't know why they had to redo other things. I'm like, other stuff I don't think had to be redone, but the log ride, I think in 89, I don't know why they decided that was the story that had to accompany it. So what? Get over it? We don't do that there. Are you on my stream? I have a policy on my stream. We don't have an uncivil discussion, and you don't tell people to get over things. Okay, you're gone. Bye. You're a bad man. Bye. I can talk about whatever I want. A lot of adults go to Disneyland, so get over yourself. And that's a troll, because those are the kind of people, like, adults take their kids to Disneyland. Do you not understand, Mr. Magoo? Adults pay. Do you think a 3-year-old's buying a ticket to Disneyland? If there's a certain ride I didn't like, I have every right to talk about it. Or if you don't like my take, get over yourself. Like, you're a grown person being disrespectful to a woman, and you didn't read that I had a comment policy. I'm not one of those channels where you just get to put whatever you want, friend. So, you're gone. That's it. Yes, I love Disney. My sister loves Disney. We still love Disney. Like, my mom loved Disneyland. Like, I don't think my mom's gonna go ever again, though, because the reason my mom stopped going was just because she felt like it was getting too crowded, and my mom doesn't like really, really big crowds. And then since the Panini, she doesn't really like to do big social things, but we did ask her a couple times if she wanted to go. My mom loves Disneyland. My mom used to watch Disney cartoons, okay? My mom has figurines. Like, she loves, like, all the little Mickey, Minnie, Daisy Duck. Like, she would always want us to get her a figurine at Disneyland. That was her thing. When we went, my mom got us those Mickey ears when they used to embroider them with your name. So whatever. My mom's like 72 and she loves Disney stuff. Like, we all love Disney stuff. So I don't know, some guy that's upset about it. I don't know. Well, why are you on a live where somebody's talking about Disneyland if you hate it so much? Like, go do your... Anyway, that's enough of him, because obviously it wouldn't be a live unless you had somebody that got mad about something. Would it? People do it all the time. Like, there were people in their 90s at Disneyland. There's people of all ages. Like, people love Disneyland, especially some of the rides that aren't too. And this is another thing I love about Disneyland. Like, I don't mean to sound like a baby, but we went on some of the roller coasters at Knott's Berry Farm, and I just realized I don't really love roller coasters, but I feel like they're kind of dangerous too. And I was like, the thing I like about Disneyland, it's more accessible. I feel like more people can ride the rides, like, of all ages and all mobilities. Like, and at Knott's, I feel like it's very selective. Plus, it's not fun. They don't really have that ambiance that Disneyland has, and we love Disneyland. So, oh, poor you, man. You don't like Disney home. Anyway. So Disneyland is
but we're gonna go again in the fall time. Like I would, even though I'm like, yeah, Disney. Oh no, I'm gonna complain about something again. I feel like Disneyland shouldn't be $200. Like I do think that's a little expensive in my honest opinion, because you used to have like a Southern California deal like 15 years ago. People are like inflation, but you could get a year pass to Disneyland as a Southern California resident for like $100, which was for both parks. And there were certain days you couldn't go, but now I think there is a similar thing, but I think it's like $500, $600. But I used to think it was a little bit more affordable, but I would rather pay more and go to Disneyland. And I think you can look and see like the days. I heard their security has been augmented recently. And I thought, oh, they already had a lot of security, but I guess they're doing more. So that's one thing I did here. Oh, I do post Disney content sometimes on this channel. Oh God, it's upset about it. Yeah, the economy kind of is not good right now. Like everybody's like, I'm hoping that changes. I really do. Although I feel like some of this right now is because corporations want to make a profit. I mean, some of it's just because of who's in office, honestly. Like, if you can't, I don't like either presidential candidate, to be honest, but I don't think that the one we have right now is helping the economy in any way. And I don't even see people really trying to defend them, but also the corporations are just raising the prices way too much for everything to make a profit. But hopefully things will get better, I do hope. I think we just have to... Interesting times we're all living through, right? I do think that there's better things in the future, though. I believe that. There's got to be a better outcome. I haven't really liked the president since Obama, though, honestly. It hasn't been good, like, the last few ones. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about it, but, you know, everybody has their own little opinion on this. See, that's the thing that's really sad about that. Like, a lot of people, like, they really lost their entire livelihood. But then, this is the thing that I find so curious about post-COVID. Even though there's a lot of people that suffered because of that, there are a lot of people that seem to make out really well. Like, they made a lot of money. And I don't know, were they selling something during the panini thing that just helped them, or they got into some sort of sector? So it's very interesting. Like, a lot of people really got hurt because of it, but other people, like, they bought houses out of it. Like, they seem to be doing better than ever. There's a lot of a disconnect. There's just like a social disconnect right now. It's very interesting. I guess it just depends on if you were in the right place. I'm not one of those people that made my... I feel like, honestly, 2 years ago, life was a lot cheaper than it is today. 4 years ago, it was a lot cheaper. And 10 years ago, like, housing was much more affordable. But, you know, I don't know. People are like, but it's because you live in California. Well, my nephew moved to Alabama because his girlfriend wanted to buy a house there. But I was looking at, like, the rent, because it's not too far from Atlanta. It's not that different than California. And then I was looking at what they pay, like salaries. And it's a third of what you make in California. So you actually make more money at a job in California. So, like, when you look at the comparison, it seems like it's cheaper in other states. Plus, I don't want to live in those other states. I just really don't. Yeah, I feel like there's certain industries where people just got ahead, but that definitely was not me. But I feel like you're on the rise anyway. I feel like your career is going to take off soon, and you're really going to do well. So, this is, like, I feel like your time is coming. I don't know, like, you got a lot of followers on the TikTok, too. You seem to resonate with a lot of people, so I feel like you're going to have something go on in your life that will just really benefit you. I just feel that because you're a good person, and I believe that good people do well. But You know, that's what I think. Oh, okay. It makes my hair all get kind of jumbly. I really need to get out of here and do something, but I'm just kind of being lazy about it. No, I've been busy all week, that's it. I just haven't pushed myself to get out of the house yet. Honestly, I love being at home a lot though. I am kind of a homebody, like at heart. Like even though I don't know, just certain things about myself that I know. Horrible paper cut. Be careful. It's a bad place to get one. But the man thing matches sort of maybe. No. I think so. I could tell. Oh yeah. Speaking of that, because we've had a problem too here, and I think everywhere, but for some reason, California has a lot of problems. Well, certain areas that are really popular and newer, like shopping centers. Like, I notice when we go out to Rancho Cucamonga, like, we sometimes go in an older shopping center and it doesn't have this problem. But this one near where I live, it gets a lot of activity, but they also get a lot of, like, shoplifting activity. So one day my sister went there and she was shopping and she said she actually heard the police and the security. They were talking about, like, they were going to have a sting operation to catch shoplifters. And I guess it's gotten so bad there that people go to buy things and like parts of like components and products are missing. Like little things, just like a knife or a fork. And these people are just so brazen, like they're stealing everything. And I think it's worse in some cities. Like there's this one store where this guy just stole like 20 purses. I kid you not. And he walked out the door. He wasn't even running. And I guess the lady said, well, there's security, but they can't detain him. And then if you call the police, they don't show up for 2 hours. So there's definitely, like, I think security is a good, like, there's a high need for it. But I don't like people that shoplift. That really annoys me. Like, you're shoplifting a knife? You needed a knife? You can't buy a knife at a discount store? Really? Like, that's kind of, and the people that do this, they're not poor. They're not, like, starving to death. There's nothing at Ross that's going to feed your family. And they go on TikTok, like, there was this girl, and I really despise this. Maybe I'm just being too sensitive. But she was saying how, like, she got, like, they're starting to scam people's faces if you shoplift at Target. In other words, the people that go to the self-checkout and they don't really self-checkout, like they're pretending to scan. And I made a comment on her video. I said, that's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. Because if somebody was truly starving, there are organizations in every community here in California that will give people food. Like if somebody was truly starving, but she wasn't going to Target because she was starving to death, she just wants to steal stuff. And that's bad. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do bad stuff. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So I hope like your channel really does take off, and I see that you're doing well, so I think that's so good. And I think you have a bright future. So I want to see people that do good do well. So, and I believe that for you. So, you know, but yeah, there's a lot of people that do naughty stuff. So I do believe you that security, and I've seen it too. Like because there's just a lot of greedy people. Like the fact that they have to beef up security is not because people are starving to death, and you shouldn't be stealing things anyway. It's so wrong. Like and the thing that bothers me about it too is like there's people that literally go on social media and they tell other people how to do it, and they don't even try to cover their face. They're just so brazen. They're like, oh, this is how you do it, and whoops, they got caught later. Yeah. Wouldn't you be embarrassed that you were shoplifting knives from Ross? Like, that's just weird. The knives were literally $5, and you stole a knife out of a box? Or, I don't know, Target or wherever, or Hobby Lobby. this is a crafting store. And there's always like young people at the Hobby Lobby. And I'm like, there are real problems where the police could be dealing with real things. They don't need to be down at Hobby Lobby on a Friday night because you thought it would be fun to steal some beads. Like, really? Needed beads that bad? I don't know. Let's steal things are naughty. But California law is very permissive about it. I feel like we might be strict about one thing, like public intoxication, but I think shoplifting is probably worse in California than where you live. That's the scary part. But yeah, they're beefing up security here too, just because basically they can only report you to the police once you leave the store. Like if you, it's bad. Like it's so bad. Like just, I don't know. It's really, really bad. Like I don't know. Maybe your laws are stricter on it. Yeah, I know people that do that actually. My sister, she sold a lot of stuff that she didn't need anymore on the Facebook Marketplace, and people like do that. Now, thrifting was kind of cool in the US, and I think you can still find good stuff, but since, I don't know, 2015, like they've raised the prices a lot. I think it used to be more affordable. My dad found me this Italian bag that had cats on it, like really, really affordably. But that was a few years back. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but the thrift stores in our area, I don't know if you can still find, because you might still find really good furniture though. I think you can still find really good furniture. I just heard the clothes were mostly like Shein and stuff these days. But I probably have enough clothes, so I've told myself recently, if I do go shopping, I'm just not really, clothes. I don't know. I do buy clothes, but I like clothes. Sometimes I do, but I'm buying a lot less. Yeah, a lot less than I used to. Buying a lot less than I used to. Not like I once did. It was a little too much back when I used to buy more clothes. But I wear everything I buy and I make it last. But I think thrifting is a good option. Because you can find really good deals, like especially furniture. But the people that shoplift at Target, like why? They're not doing it because they're starving to death. They're just doing it to be jerks. And I think it's almost become like a thing, like a flex. It shouldn't be a flex. Shoplift. It's bad. Like, I don't know. Why, it used to kind of be considered like something that was looked down upon too, like stealing. But it seems like recently people are like, oh, well, you're just kind of sticking it to the corporation. Not really, because that's going to give the corporations an incentive to raise the prices for everybody. They're going to be like, well, because of shoplifting, we have to raise our prices now. Which might be true to some extent, but they're just using that as another reason to raise the price of food. Which, by the way, I saw a frozen dinner that was $7 for a frozen dinner. That's crazy. That is crazy. And then you have, like, families where they go to buy milk and bread. I mean, I still buy flour, but even, like, you used to be able to buy a good quality flour for less than $2. Well, I'm going to go look at the grocery store and see like what the prices and things are. I just buy a few things. I have some stuff that my mom gave me out of her garden anyway, but I need to go buy a few things. And we do like the little sparkly waters. I'll drink those. But I don't know. That's what I like. I don't like to drink soda anymore. Like I used to, and I never should have started drinking soda again. But I find the only thing is that keeps me, and then I still need to get rid of that soda stream. I really hate the soda stream, which is like the biggest scam, by the way. Soda stream is a scam. Like they're like, you're gonna save so much money and it carbonates your water and you can do all these flavors. Well, I bought that thing in 2020 and every single cartridge that I had for it barely carbonated, like a few bottles of water. It is the biggest scam. I wish I never would have bought that thing. But you have to recycle. Like, it just lives in my kitchen because you have to recycle the little tubes. And I tried to once. Like, I tried to take a picture of its QR code to have them come pick it up. And then they said, it doesn't work anymore. So now I have to go online and figure out where to have somebody come pick that thing up. Maybe I'll take it back to Target because I think they accept them there. But I want to get rid of the device because it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. Don't ever buy a soda stream. Like, if you're gonna like carbonated water, that's horrible that food and vegetables are just as expensive. I feel like fruit and vegetables like should be the most affordable things to buy at the store, and it shouldn't be like that. Now, fruit and vegetables in California are a little bit more reasonable than some places because a lot of them are grown here. And I also get lucky too because my mom, she gives me a lot of vegetables now that it's coming in the summer. And then at just people I know, like some people have grapefruit tree, or I got avocados for free the other day. Like homegrown California avocados are amazing. So I get some produce, but the produce tends to be a little bit cheaper here. I think the things that are more ridiculous are like milk, eggs, bread, like things that families actually need to buy, like that they're looking to buy. That's the stuff that like it's a ridiculous price. I'm like, I don't think a loaf of bread needs to be $5. That's just silly, you know. I guess you can make your own bread. I don't love bread that much anyway, but I'm thinking about people who have a family that buy that for their kids for lunch and stuff. Like, I can just imagine if you had kids right now, what the grocery bill would be. I think a lot of families have anxiety about that, but, you know, I think this election is going to be really interesting because we'll see what happens. Not that I think the president completely impacts that 100%, but I do think to some degree, yeah, I believe that. But, you know. Hi, it's nice to see you. Well, that's good. Anyway, I hope everybody has a great day. And yeah, I probably should wash my hair maybe tomorrow. And you know, what else was I going to say? I might do henna. No, henna's really messy. I might just wash my hair, but I really want to do another henna treatment. I do not oil my scalp, by the way. Like all these people who say oiling your scalp makes like. I tried it once again, like a few months ago recently. I don't see the point. Why would I oil my scalp? I just put oil on my mids to ends to help with detangling my hair, to keep my hair moisturized. I do not oil my scalp, and I don't believe scalp oiling contributes to hair growth. I think that is not accurate. And I know like a lot of Indian women do hair oiling, but I think it's just more of like a ritual way that they're oiling their hair. It's not the way that you're seeing in the media where people are putting all these droppers of oil in their scalp. I just don't agree with that. I don't think that's necessary. But right now you have so many hair girlies, like they're on here, showing how they oil their scalp, and they're telling you that's how you grow your hair. I didn't do any of that. I just oil my hair. But I don't have to do it their way. And after, if you go 3 weeks without washing your hair, which this is week 3 for me, sometimes I wash my hair more often than others, but I notice like your hair starts making its own natural oils, and you don't have to oil it as much. So I don't believe you have to oil your scalp to grow your hair, you know? So anyway, have a nice day, everybody. Thanks for watching.